Well, it's such nice weather, we've decided to leave inside and make good use of the weather. So we've started sanding Tilly. It's a long, slow process, and I've got a little helper today. He's come round to give me a hand, and you must have seen him in some vlogs before, Mr. Ryan. As you can see, we've started giving it a good old sand. There's Mr. Ryan. Now there's lockdowns all over.
I can come round and help.
He's armed. He's got the big sander. He's got like little sanders. He's like a sanding mean machine. But it's getting there, so we'll keep you updated. We'll give it the best we can for the minute. Oh look, he's on his cider o'clock. See, mine's beer o'clock, he's his cider o'clock.
Cheers.
I've been wondering how I'm going to get to this bit here to paint because of the winch on the front of this trailer. So now, I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I just thought of it. I'm going to see if I can unbolt the winch and take this whole frame off and then just bolt it back on after. Well, let's give that a go, see if it works. Just get some rubber gloves on for mixing this stuff up. It's the filler I showed you last time. Literally is a case of just get a bit out, size of a golf ball, put it on your lid, bit of hardener into it. Once you've got that in, just give it a good mix. Like that. Oh, and by the way, this little stand for what I'm filming with now, it was given to me by Mr. Nick, so could see a bit better. It's not particularly what he gave it to us for, but it's what we're using it for. And once you've got your filler mixed up, you've got to be quick. Just go over and fill the little bits you got. Like I said, this stuff is really easy to sand, so it's not too bad. As some of you may have noticed, been observant, I've removed the black line round the bottom, a little bit, you can see at the front there. It used to go all the way down the boat, but I'm not going to have the line anymore. But this side, I've done a lot of the filling and sanding, and it's now coming up like a really flat piece of glass. It's a lot of sanding, but it's getting there. I've been using this filler. I would really recommend it. It has been really good. It's simple, easy to work with. It's about £15–16 a little pot, but like I say, it is a very good filler. It's easy to work with, easy to sand down. Can't really see it on here, I don't think, but a lot of it's, I'm just concentrating on the bottom at the minute. But I was going to talk to some of you, let you know about the actual sanding of the boat itself and the best way to go about it. As I was saying, I was just going to touch on a bit about the way I've been sanding it. I'm not saying it's right, but the way is what's working for me is give it a good sand with something like 60-80 grit paper, then get most of it off, and then once I've done that, I've gone back over it again with 120 grit before I've started filling any of it, just for the simple reason, if you leave it at the 60-80 grit, the scratches in it will show through your paint and your primer, because the paint will just not be thick enough if you do it properly to fill the holes, because you just want thin coats. So now I've started filling it, I'm going over it again with 120, sanding it so it's obviously a bit finer, and then once I've done that, before I put the primer on, I will go over it again with like a 240, then I will get the primer on. And I think the best way is going to be get a coat of primer on in the morning, if you've got the weather obviously, then get another coat of primer on late in the afternoon, because then you won't have to sand between coats. But if you leave it overnight to cure, then you're probably going to have to sand in between coats. So I'm just going to go for 2 coats of primer the same day. Then once I've got that on, I will go over it again with something like 320, 360 grit paper before I start putting the paint on. And once I've got all the paint on, if I get the first coat on, then I'll probably go over that again before I do the final top coat with like a 400 grit paper, just so you don't get any blemishes in it, because I'm trying to avoid the like orange peel effect, so I don't want it on too thick, then just keep taking it off a little bit at a time. And the main thing I think is to remember, when you are rollering a boat, just do little bits at a time. Don't try and do the whole side of the boat. Do about 2 foot and just keep working your way along 2 foot at a time. And don't work the paint too much. Just get it on very lightly, quite thin. I think about 10% thinner I'm going to use. Get it on thin, evenly, and just don't work it too much, otherwise you're going to get all the little orange peel effect come. Then when you've just done that bit, just do your roller from the top down to the bottom, finished, and just move on to the next bit. Sanded this down, it's nice and smooth now. I've got a few more bits to fill, but just do it as we go along. Yeah, like that needs a little bit of sand in there still. Nice. A lot of this you won't see it once it's actually got the undercoat on. You should lose it all. But I'll finish giving this a sand. And like I was saying about that filler, it is very good filler. But if you've got someone who could help you with it, would be quite good, because it's got a working time of about 3 to 4 minutes once you've mixed it up. So you've got to get everything ready to go, and it would be helpful if you had like a little spotter just to point out where the bits are. But obviously don't touch them, otherwise you're going to put grease on them. Just go along and tell you where they are. You just do it that little bit quicker. said, we've got a bit further, sanded it a bit more. It's getting there. It's a slow process, but we're getting there. It's going to take some time. I reckon this is going to take about 5 to 7 days. I'll just give it a quick hose down just to get some of the dust off, which makes it a bit more pleasant for tomorrow. And thanks to Mr. Ryan over there, we've got a lot further than we normally would have done. Now that COVID's finished, it's helped having Mr. Ryan come and help. We will see you at some point, probably tomorrow.